Cool. So we had five questions, and let me just go over the teams. So, did how how was your experience? Like, what was your experience when you're working in an agile environment or a waterfall environment? That was the
Okay.
first question. Second is the user stories. Third is the gap analysis, and then finding stakeholders. So, out of these five questions, let me put those questions here in chat as well, so you guys can see this, and we can straight away dive into the question and answer sessions.
And another thing I wanted to ask you, like, you told us that all our interviews are going to be on Zoom. So, like, when we are, because when it comes from you, you have a lot of experience in actual hands-on experience on doing the projects, whereas we're totally new. So, can we look at the notes and then answer, or we have to be just looking at, because any other environment, like any other interview, I'm like straight away looking into the interviewers, to be like whatever screen I am on, like with the
That's
interviewer.
usually the way it is. If it is a
Yeah.
video, not every interview is going to be a video call, right?
Mhm.
There are interviews. Last Usually the last round is the video call. Otherwise, all other before that is like just over the phone.
And we don't get to pick, right? It's
We No, it's their choice. Yes,
their
it's their choice.
choice. Okay.
Yeah. And don't worry about the video call. I think you can always have some notes on the side. That's completely fine. But it should not look like that you are reading out something, right? It's okay to have some bullet points written somewhere, and you have it in front of you. If you will be
Yeah.
amazed the way I go for the interview. When I prepare for the interview, when
Hmm.
I'm on the phone, my entire bed, like I'm talking about in my bedroom, my entire bed in my
Hmm.
bedroom is
Hmm.
full of papers.
Like sticky notes.
Not sticky notes, like actual papers, like actual book notes, like the book page that we have, right? I In one
Uh-huh.
page I have bullet points written for some specific question. In another page I know
Oh,
there is a specific question on this, and I've organized it in such a way that when I'm on the phone, if someone asks me a particular question, I exactly know what page to pick and look through those bullet points and talk through them.
Mm.
got it. So, like, if we are talking, so like, we are turning pages of a notebook, so it should not be like so obvious कि the other
But
person figures out. Yeah.
that's why I don't turn the pages. I have all the loose pages on my bed in a
Okay.
sequential manner. I have organized them in a sequential manner, in a
Uh-huh.
way which makes logical sense to me. And then I
Got
pick
it.
the page, and nobody will hear that sound because I'm just picking one page. I'm not flipping the page anymore.
Got it.
And
That's
flipping the
exactly.
page takes time. When you want to, if it's on sixth or seventh page, you want to wait for 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? You don't get that 6 seconds during the interview.
Yeah,
But if
that's
you
true.
if you if you have that map in your head that, hey, on this bed this is, or on your wall, wherever you want it, right?
Hmm.
You can just stand in front of your big wall, and everything is written on that, and you can just stare that, and you can just talk during the interview call. That's fine too. I'm usually a person who walks when talking. So like being steady on in my room doesn't help me clear my interview. If you are a person who doesn't like to walk while talking, then the
Hmm.
idea for you is that just have a big wall in your room, and
Hmm.
on that wall just have all the sticky notes or all the book pages just stuck on that wall. So that
Hmm.
whenever someone asks you a question, you exactly know, hey, this is where I have to look into. You have to do some practice beforehand, right? You have to do some rehearsals. But now you know, hey, this is the question being asked, and you don't have to write the detailed, like, exact answer. All you need to write is some bullet points. Always write two or three more bullet points, because when you are in the interview zone, you will always forget to add. You will always speak less than more, because you'll always forget
Mm.
something. So it should not look like that, hey, you only had 2 points and now you
Hmm.
forgot both of those points and you are stuck. It should not be the case,
Got it.
right?
And we're
Thank you.
allowed to walk around in the interview, like in the video call. That's perfect.
In
No.
the video call also, in the video call I've not done that, but I think if you want,
Oh,
you can do that. That's completely fine. I'm talking about, most of the
okay.
interviews are going to be over the phone. Only interview
Okay.
which before which they're going to hire you, there are multiple rounds, right? That round will
Mm.
be on the video call, and because you've already gone through so many rounds, you will be more confident when
I
that round
know.
comes in.
Yes.
Yeah.
तब तक तो हो जाएगा. But I'm
Mm.
just
Yep.
thinking about the first interview not to be kicked out.
No, it's
Mm.
okay. Don't I told you, right? I give 5 interviews as the buffer. Most of the students that I had, they're able to crack first interview from first 3 interviews for right jobs that they're applying, right? They cannot apply for random jobs and get disappointed that I was not able to clear the interview, right? If they
Okay.
apply to the jobs that I'm requesting them to, I think they are able to clear first 1 out of 3 interviews for sure. But I will still give you a buffer for 5 interviews. chances are high that you will clear your first interview from 5 interviews.
Got it.
And it's completely, do not worry about failing in the interview. ऐसे भी job नहीं दे रहे, right? तो ऐसे भी job नहीं मिलना, कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. But it takes
But you
that
lose your
repetition.
confidence. That's my
No,
only
I
thing.
don't think so.
You break your confidence कि अगर repetitive में same mistake करते रहे.
No,
So
that is not how it should be. So question ये होना चाहिए कि अगर मैंने पहले इंटरव्यू में फेल कर दिया था, अभी दूसरा राउंड तो आया, आफ्टर सेकंड राउंड के अभी थर्ड राउंड तो आया. So you're making progress. आज से 2 महीने के
okay.
बाद तो इंटरव्यू कॉल भी नहीं आ रहे थे, रेज्यूमे
Yeah.
भी नहीं था, राइट? रेज्यूमे बन
नहीं
गया,
था.
इंटरव्यू कॉल आया, एक राउंड हुआ, 2 राउंड हुआ, 3-4 इंटरव्यू कॉल आ गया, मतलब कुछ तो अच्छा है मेरे में.
That's true.
So what if it takes 10 interviews? At least you're getting interviews, right? As
Yeah.
long as you're getting interviews, you'll get the job.
Okay. So according to you, we should always be positive, no matter what हम advance कर रहे हैं उसमें process में.
There is no reason for you to be not positive, because everything that you're doing, just imagine 2 months before you didn't have access to that opportunity.
No, I didn't know anything.
Yes. So you at least have an opportunity now, right? So that
Yes, sir.
that opportunity has become materialistic now, and from there, this final step will also come in. Don't worry. Interview cracking is not that difficult. Surviving a job is a little more difficult. So I'm not too worried about the interview for you all. I think if you prepare the way I'm telling, I think it should come to you pretty soon. That should not be a problem. But I think persistence, like as I said, right? You need to put your hard work, you need to put your dedication, and be positive. That is very, very important. If you can't sell yourself that you can talk through interview, you will not able to sell anyone else. First person you need to convince is your own self. If you can't convince yourself, you will never able to convince anyone in the entire world.
Yes.
Right? So first person is that you have to convince yourself. That's why you want to remove all this vague thoughts from your mind that I don't have experience. This is the first time I'm doing this. Let's stop using this jargon. I'm telling you this from last 2 months now. We don't have to use these jargons anymore. All we have to say is that, hey, we have learned this in the classes. This is how I'm going to say. That's all. Change your shift. There has to be a shift in your mindset now, because what you feel you have not experienced, I can tell you in my interviews, when I take interviews for actual BAs and actual product owners, like they don't even know 10% of what you guys know. And I mean this. I've interviewed 3 people last week again for my position, and I feel like they're like so bad. They don't even know 10% of what you guys know, even though they have 5 to 6 years of experience. I'm talking about legit experience, right? Legitimate experience.
So they have actually worked and like with a real job and okay.
Yes, still they're lacking.
Okay.
So I think it's all in your head, and I think I've said this again and again that what you have learned, you don't realize it will take you 6 years to experience this, or sometimes lifetime to experience this. What we have learned in the class, it is not easy to get this experience and to get exposure to all these kind of things, right? So have confidence in what you have learned, have confidence in your hard work and your preparation, and you will be able to pass through this.
Got it.
But cool. I think without further delay, let's get into the actual interview preparation. So let me ask a question. Hey, I was looking at your resume. It looks like you have acquired quite a lot of experience on the agile side. Can you explain me like how when you write user stories, what kind of framework or what kind of things you would keep in mind while writing a user story? And an example would be appreciated. Who wants to go first for this question?
I can attempt it.
Okay.
Okay, so basically,
Take 15 seconds. Prepare yourself. When you speak, I want to make sure that this is your actual interview. You are in flow. You are structured. I don't want to get unstructured answers. If you want to take 30
Okay.
seconds, take 30 seconds. Articulate your thoughts, but not more than 30 seconds.
Okay.
Cool. Ready up?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Go ahead.
Okay, so just to start off, basically the user story It's what includes the user statement of basically, as a user, I want this so that I can achieve this or to complete that statement, and an acceptance criteria. Um, to put it simply, user story is basically a document that takes the W5H framework of a product and puts it into a written format. Uh, there's also ideas or requirements that are provided that provide us with what users want or need. Um, and we get that from the wish list whenever we come up with the epics and features. And we also provide error scenarios included in the user story, as along with technical errors as well. And if you have any more questions, we can go from there.
Okay. So quick feedback. We'll try to go in as a rapid fire round, guys. We want to make sure we cover more questions and we give more opportunity for everyone. But just a quick feedback for you, Abdul. I think you said user stories and acceptance criteria. Then you went to epics and features and wish list. You didn't have to talk about all those things. My question was specific to user story. All you had to mention was what kind of things you write in user stories and how you put together. And I was asking for an example that was missing out in that. But a really good attempt. I felt a positive answer, a confident answer.
Okay.
Who else wants to give it a shot?
I can give it a shot.
Okay, go ahead, Nisha.
Okay. So, well, user story comes after we have identified, as you know, after we have identified epics and features, we further break down into several features, and in Agile environment, these features are addressed via user stories. So user stories are done in the format of, I want this so that. And to give you an example, I work in a nonprofit where we have several external stakeholders who have to provide payment instructions. So one of the user story that I can say give as an example for an external stakeholder is, I want a clear information on the portal where I can enter all the bank information so that I have an efficient transaction.
Awesome. Perfect. What about the acceptance criteria?
I think, and this is my question to you, James, is this something that I have to explain before I provide the example?
Yes.
Okay. So in terms of acceptance criteria, this was done after we identified the user story. The acceptance criteria was done at the testing level where we tested, now I'm lost. The user acceptance testing criteria was done. So I don't know how to explain this
No,
further. I'm lost now.
that's not what it should be. That's not how it should be. Acceptance criteria is different, right? Acceptance criteria, all you do is you put mockups, you put error scenarios, you talk about high level requirements or high level acceptance criteria for which you're going to approve the story, right? Which includes some business rules, some business processes, and some threshold conditions, whatever we have in the BRD checklist. All those things can fall in here.
What about dependencies? Isn't that also required?
Dependency is not a requirement. Dependency is the if in order to complete the story, it's dependent on another story or another team, right? So you can put that in the acceptance criteria. You can put topics in the acceptance criteria. This is what you put. I would add a few more things in my stories like dependencies or assumptions, so that people know when they're working on the story, these are the dependencies or assumptions we have.
So given my example, how would you say, what would be the acceptance
I think
criteria?
your as a user story was bang on. You sound extremely confident. I don't know what others feel, but to me, you were extremely confident.
Yes, it was good.
She's
And
very
very positive.
confident.
Yes.
Very
No,
structured.
I wasn't actually. I was
But
really
you
nervous.
but you did come across like that.
Okay.
The second thing in your acceptance criteria, when you talked about the payment instructions, right? Payment instruction where they're going to put in information. You want to say that you will share the exact mock-up on where they're going to put the information. What kind of things can go wrong when they're putting in that information? Who is going to put in that information? And what is the end result from there? Like once they put in that information, what's going to happen after that? That's your acceptance criteria, right? At a high level. And Abdul, you cannot say W5H framework. Nobody would know outside of this class what is W5H framework. It is a concept created by me,
Okay.
just to explain you things.
I
If
had a feeling, but I
I
wasn't sure. I just said it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
okay.
you don't need W5H framework to write user stories.
I have a
Okay.
question here.
Go ahead.
So when you're doing the user stories, do we tell, I mean, do we go to the next level and say that we assign the story points and, get
No,
in?
it's purely about user story, right? How to write user stories. I'm not talking
Got
about
it.
any process.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
Cool. So I think it was a really good attempt, Nisha.
Okay.
Uh, and
Okay. Okay.
if I can tell you now, how would I would
Hmm.
focus on the other questions because I want to cover other questions as well. Let me just give you an example. How would have I have covered this question in the interview? So I
Okay.
would have said something on these lines. Hey, I can totally see the reason behind asking this question. I've written like hundreds of user stories by now, and let me give you one of the examples of user story. As a for if this is for the payment gateway, as a user, I want to make sure that I have access to make payments using credit card so that I don't have to give information for my PayPal account or I don't have to make payments in cash. And this I was working on a project, and this is where we created this user story. And there were several acceptance criteria within this, right? So, for example, what kind of credit cards we will be accepting? We will be accepting MX, Discover, Mastercard, Visa card. Which from which countries we will be accepting the payment for, right?
Hmm.
If payment cards are expired, like we need to show them specific messages. We need to tell users that what the information that they've provided is not right. We need to come up with all those error scenarios. We need to also show the user that, hey, these are the terms and conditions you are providing or you are accepting, because when the moment you're going to give us your information, we are going to charge on this card. We need to get the consensus on this, right? So I'll also work with legal team on getting all this extra information on the languages around that page and what kind of label should we have, what kind of error messages should look like. I'll work with my legal team and my product manager on all this information and put together a really, really good user story, which is testable, which is concise in nature, and it has the right screenshots in that, including error messages. That's
Awesome.
my answer.
That's
That's how I
really
would
good.
Yeah.
have said, right?
Awesome.
And again,
And
this is like quick. This is my quick
Hmm.
2 cents. This is how I would have said it. I'm not prepared for interview right now, but I'm just trying to give you guys tips. I don't want you guys to copy me exactly. You need to come up with your own words and your own structure, right?
so, James, just one question. So, acceptance criteria, is it done at the testing level?
It's not done at a testing level. No, that's why the moment you say that, they're going to fire you. That's not how it should be.
Okay.
And does
Testing
the yeah, go ahead.
test cases are different. Test cases are different than the acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria are written in with a mindset that at a high level, this is what I want to get from this story, right? And you write those high level information again, which is not very different than the business requirements checklist that I've shared with you all. There are 18 points in that, right? We covered in the last class. You can use those points to talk about the acceptance criteria. That's completely fine. Some of those
So,
things will still be applicable.
So that would
maybe
also
I'm sorry. So
no, you're
maybe I'm
fine.
confusing this with the user acceptance that is done at the testing
User
level.
acceptance testing, yes, that's different.
Yes, that's I'm okay.
That's
So
different.
that's where I got confused.
Once
Okay.
the story is delivered, once the story is written, they will be developed that someone will develop that story, then someone will test that story, and then you will do the UAT, which is user acceptance testing.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Any questions before we go to the next one?
Yes, you said the acceptance criteria is basically the business requirements checklist.
Yeah, you can
So
use
that
those points from the checklist. Mhm.
okay, so that also includes like, for example, like the web responsive cross-browser
Yes, all
requirements,
those will come in. Mhm.
all that stuff. Okay.
Yep. But I want to keep my answer pretty short, right? I wanted to cover in 30 seconds. So I
Yes,
wanted to
yes.
wrap it up. But if you have some time, you can probably take 60 seconds or so, or 90 seconds at the max while explaining this. And if you have time, you can add in those examples or those key points from there.
Okay.
Try to make sure that your answer does not go more than 2 minutes at any case. In worst cases, 2.5 minutes, but not more than that.
Okay.
Right? Cool. Let's do the quick question. This is a super simple one. Uh, hey, I saw that you have worked with so many teams before and for so many projects. Can you help me understand how do you identify stakeholders in your project?
Oh, I would like to give this one a shot.
Can you please wait for a few minutes, Abdul? I want Amir or
Oh,
Sabri to
sorry,
give
sorry,
give it a
sorry.
shot first, and then we can
Yes.
come back to you.
Yes.
Savnit or Amir?
Okay.
No,
Okay, Sunny, do you want to take it? Go ahead.
no, you take it. It's okay. I have another one.
Okay, Amir, go ahead.
Okay. So yes, stakeholder. Your question is stakeholder analysis,
Yes.
RASI chart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to be clear.
Yep.
So for that, I have to take 10 seconds to explain what RASI stands for, which you already know. But it's the area there is responsibility, which
So
is
first, sorry, Amir, are you talking to me right now, or you're actually giving an answer?
I'm talking to you. Do I have to explain the RASI chart or just go into stakeholder analysis?
It's the question, right? How do you do stakeholder analysis? Just whatever you feel is the answer, let me know, and then I'll
Okay,
give you my
good.
feedback.
All right, good. So stakeholder analysis is basically on a high level, my experience, anybody who is directly or indirectly involved in the project, they're called the stakeholders. So when I was in doing Waterfall project, it would be the developers, the QA, the BA, the project manager, team lead, architect, designers, SMEs, business experts, and so on. And in Waterfall, it was the product owner, product manager, developers, QA, etc., subject matter experts, business experts, legal compliance. We can basically, when putting it on a RASI chart, we can very easily put it into 4 different, what do you call, let me find the word for it so that it's easy for everybody.
Responsible,
5
accountable.
columns: project deliverables or activity, the project leadership, the project team members, the project sub-teams, the external resources.
No, sorry,
So,
Amir, you're not on the right track. Sorry, you're not on the right track.
huh?
You're not on the right track.
I'm not.
You started on the right. You started with the right information, but right now what you're saying is not for this question.
Oh, okay. All right. I was just going for your note.
Yeah.
Then out of all these stakeholders, we decide who is responsible to perform the job, who is accountable in who's the sponsor of the project, or who the entire project is accountable for it, who's to be consulted. These are people who are subject matter experts or experts in their own areas, and who's to be informed, which is basically everybody, because in my experience in the Agile methodology, the entire team, the stakeholders, everybody has to be kept in the loop. It's got to be transparent, and it's that's if everybody's in the loop, then there's no what do you say, out of sync work. Then everybody's on the same page.
Yep.
That's how we do stakeholder analysis, RASI chart.
Perfect. I think what you said in the beginning and what you said at the end makes complete sense. What you said in between, where I stopped you, that was not part of it. I think you were trying to give an example. Your example was not right.
Okay. All right.
Cool. Anyone else wants to take a shot at this?
I can try.
Can we answer this question
But
without
Savneet,
even?
you go ahead. Savneet, you go
Do
ahead.
we have to mention this question? I mean, do we have to just take in consideration the RASI chart? We cannot do it without it.
You can, but I think if you say RASI, it will look good in the interview. In reality, you're not never going to create this for anyone. You may just create this for your own self.
Okay, so that's what, yeah, I'm missing on that RASI point, but otherwise I know what it means.
Go ahead. That's fine. We can go ahead and explain it.
My answer is not very long. I'll be honest. It's a very short
That's okay.
answer.
So, Savneet, I don't want you to be hesitant about whether it's a long answer or short answer, whether you know it or you don't know it, right? Just there is a question, go ahead and answer it. That's it. and I'll give you my feedback, and I'll let me judge that. Right? Because I think, like we said, Nisha was not.
Okay.
Nisha felt that she was not confident, but we all felt she is confident, right?
Nisha is very confident. That is,
So we don't. So we do not
we
know.
know that.
So you would
Okay.
not know. You would not know unless you really talk about something, whether how good you were. So let's not try to demotivate yourself. Let's just come out of that shell. There is a question, just answer it. Whatever you know, just go ahead and shoot it.
Okay. So whatever I've learned in the class, I'm going to base my answer on that. Stakeholder analysis is a way to identify the stakeholders and analyze their needs to develop and deliver a quality product. We are identifying what are the stakeholders and what are their different responsibilities in creating a project. What does a quality analyst do, developer? We are assigning duties and just going on from there.
Okay, that was a good answer.
Okay, that I had just had one more line and that's it.
Go ahead.
But I have a feeling that you always say that a 90-second, this is like a 20 to 30-second answer.
All answers doesn't have to be for 90 seconds. I was saying that
Okay.
if you're some answers could be short answers, that's fine. It's not a problem. But not every answer could be less than 30 seconds. It would not fly. And not
Yes.
every answer could be as long as 90 seconds or 2 minutes. There has to be a balance.
Okay, got it.
You wanted to add one more line, or
Yeah,
you're done?
I was at what is the purpose of performing stakeholder analysis is to have a strategic view of various possible stakeholder issues. Like, for example, if the developers are having an issue, so we are able to, that's where the Scrum Master takes over and takes charge. Whoever is having an issue, they can actually be in touch. All the stakeholders have to be in contact and have a chain of action to be performed.
Yep. Okay. I think so. What you guys said made sense. And I felt, Savneet, you were as confident as everyone else. I did not feel you were lacking in confidence at all. So
I am not actually, but I would still, if you don't mind, can I just hear your opinion? How do you answer this question?
yep, that's the next thing I'm gonna do.
Okay.
So let me think about it. So I would say this way. Stakeholder analysis is the first step whenever I work on any project. After knowing what the project is about, I really wanted to do this analysis for all of my projects that I've done in the past. And the biggest reason is because if we are not clear on roles and responsibilities, it becomes more difficult to deliver project in a quality way and in a timely manner, because we really want to make sure that we are not stepping on each other's toe and doing the same work again and again, right? So I really want to first identify all the team members who are involved in this project. What is their responsibility? Who is accountable for a certain part of the project? And who needs to be consulted and who needs to be informed, right? And I don't create this official RASI for everyone, but I at least create RASI chart for myself for my own sake, so that I at least know that, hey, if I'm in the for agile phase, if I'm in the within the sprint development phase, and there are some issues being faced by developers, right? I exactly know now, hey, if this developer is facing issue, who can help this developer with this issue, and who can get this resolved on a quickly manner, right? So that clarity really helps, because when you're working so fast and with in an agile environment, you want to make sure that you exactly know who can help you with these issues, and not really go in circles. So I actually work with every single person who is involved in the team. I asked them what do they feel, what is the roles and responsibility, and I would also assess from my side that this is what my expectation is from your role. And after having these discussions, I will put together those bullet points for each person, and I would use that notes for throughout the project when I'm working with that company, and make sure that I go to that person only for that specific need and not for something else.
Beautiful. My only thing was when you were having this flow, like, it reminded me of a class of kids where the teacher comes in and just assign different, it's like a group project, but every kid has a different, duty. One of us is taking charge of the drawing, the other person is just, like, so the way you explained, I could, even if I didn't know anything or something, I can easily follow. That's how beautifully you explained it. I mean, you were so good.
Structure. It's a structure, right? So
I
structure will
mean,
come into place with enough rehearsals, with enough practice. It will come to you guys as well. Don't worry.
But like when I am saying as an instructor, do you follow what I'm saying? Yeah, because
We did.
I
We
know,
did. We
because
did.
I understand when you are talking, I'm like so clear. I don't have to think twice कि आप क्या समझा रहे हो. It was just so clear.
I think to me you were clear as well, but I would let Nisha, Abdul, and Amir share their point of view if they felt the same way or they had other feedback to share with you.
I would just say to Savneet ki she's too worried and she's too conscious ki if she's performing okay or not. I don't think you should even judge with me or anybody else. You were awesome. And I think you sounded very, how would I say, your pace was really good. You sounded calm. You didn't sound nervous. So I think you should look at the positive aspects of it. And I don't think you should compare yourself to anybody, any one of us. You are, you know what you are. You
Excellent.
have your
Excellent.
strengths. So just focus on that, Savneet.
Yes.
So I think
Thank you.
Yeah.
this is what I was trying to say, right? So do not have any doubts in your head. Oftentimes we stop our own self that we cannot do this, but you don't know what potential you have because we have never explored that potential so far, right? And when Nisha said that, I think I also meant it the same way. You sounded pretty confident, pretty clear on what you were saying. And one thing that Nisha said was really a good observation there. The pace at which you said was not fast and not slow. It sounded like it was really professional pace wise. When I speak, I'm too fast. I know that, right? But I think your pace was really good.
And James, is it true that sometimes like the answer we think it might be wrong if it's like too short, like Savneet was worried about? It may be that the interviewer might just accept that answer. Like that might have been his minimum threshold to be like, okay, yeah,
Yeah, it should be okay. You cannot. It's for some answers, if you don't have any details on it, you can just say a few lines and you can stop there.
right,
But do
Okay.
not say anything which you don't know or which will not make sense because you last thing you want to do is give wrong answers.
right, but just
Got
not
it.
detailed enough. It was the right
That's
answer,
fine.
but it wasn't detailed enough.
It can work out as long as there are
Mhm.
like 10 to 12 questions being asked in the interview, right? If you are detailed enough in other questions, then your interview would know, hey, this person can talk through, this person knows things. So you'll get
Yeah,
the job.
exactly. Right.
Cool. So 2 questions are done. Can someone explain me what is gap analysis?
I can try. So I can explain gap analysis by using a recent project that I did at my workplace, and this was for an internal process where we are trying to increase our efficiency. And what was happening is that instead of a grant that should be processed in 2 to 3 days, we were taking 7 to 10 days. So in order to increase our efficiency, we wanted to identify, the current process and the as is process and to be process. So that's a gap analysis that we did. For this, we involved several stakeholders, internal as well as externals. We had brainstorming sessions back and forth. We collected requirements. I created mock-ups, screenshots, and then we identified where the blockage was happening and what could be done to explain, to overcome that hurdle. So that's the short version of the gap analysis that I was involved in.
Oh, I think I'll give you 7 out of 10.
Okay.
That is so good, the way she
Oh.
did it, you know.
Anyone else wants to try what is gap analysis before we go to the next question? And you guys might see me rushing in this call because I really want to use this 45 minutes where we discuss more. I let you guys speak up more and more, right? It doesn't have to be perfect answer. As long as you guys follow the structure and get my feedback, I think that's all you guys need to know.
How would you answer this question, sir?
I have an interview recording. I don't think for every question I have to share my point of view, but I think what Nisha said is pretty much similar.
It's pretty much similar. Okay,
Pretty much
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, but why would you give 7 out of 10? What was missing?
Yes.
That's the main point.
That is the main thing
Yeah,
then.
not the
Now you know.
rating.
Great. I like
Not
that,
the
Nisha.
rating. Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. हमें तो perfection चाहिए, sir.
So I felt when you explained the to be process, You focus too much on the as is process. I did not hear much about to be process. How did you,
Got
when
it.
you did this analysis, there
Hmm.
should be, what is the outcome, right?
Hmm.
There should be some happy ending, like a movie. What is
Hmm.
the ending of that?
Hmm.
So after doing this process, this is what we solved.
Hmm.
That was missing
Okay, great.
from
Okay,
the to be process.
great. Thank you.
Cool. Anyone else wants to try?
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Amir.
Go ahead, Amir.
Gap analysis is basically what your process is right now as is, and what you want to the process to be, when you're done with the product. So we were doing this project for a bank, and they had a web page which wasn't really very popular, and they wanted to change it. So after the business project, the process and logic was developed for as is. We found out that the process involved as is, the apply now link, and every time took the customer to a new page to start a fetch application. And in as is, there was next button is view rates. So the customer has to go to a new rate estimate page. Similarly, there were a couple of other points, but to make it short, in the to be, we decided that it had to be the apply now link. Once the customer clicked on view rates, they should be able to see the various rates on the same page rather than being directed to a new window, making it more customer friendly or user friendly. And other than that, in the to be, we added that apart from providing a toll-free number to call in customer, to be given the option to live chat with an agent 24/7, so that there's no time and day restriction. And it should be a toll-free number and accessible with the US. So these are just the basic highlights where it was is and how we developed the business project, process logic, and gave them a process flow where we want it to be. So that's the gap analysis example of the gap analysis we did hands-on in the project we were doing.
Okay. I think excellent shot at giving an example, Amir. I feel your example was focusing on a very specific aspect of the web page. That shouldn't be the case. You should have talked in terms of, you don't have to talk about the buttons and the clicks and all those things, right?
Mhm.
What you could have said is the same example, right? This is the same example you could have used in a different way.
Okay.
I would have said something in this way. Hey, when
Mhm.
users were coming to our site, first of all, do not use web page word at all. It's a very shallow word. We
Mhm.
should not use it in our conversation. No website, no web page or on a specific page. You should do an analysis on the entire portal, right? Website is still okay, but I would use portal for the future reference. Hey, when
Portal.
customers are coming to our portal, when
Yeah.
customers are coming to our portal, we had few things where customers had to click on click on certain aspects of the page, and then they are able to see a particular information. And we saw that there were a lot of dropouts from our user journey because of that, and we wanted to improvise on that, right? So we started looking into the experience where, hey, this is the exact step, this is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4 for our customers when they come to our site, and these are the places where they're dropping out, right? So we found that that could be because they are not able to find that information, or because they are into a specific zone of that information. Now they are not able to relate that same information from where they started in the beginning. So there was a lot of back and forth for a customer to find anything that they want on the same site. So what we did was, we took that as the mindset that this is where the problem is. We converted that into a much smoother flow. We did some user research. We helped them understand that, hey, these are the things you're looking for. These are the three things that they're looking for. This is right in front of your eyes. The moment you come to our portal, these are the only three things you would see first. You would not notice anything other than those three things, right? And once that was achieved, we got a really positive feedback from our users, and we rolled out that product. And of course, the rest was the history, because we started seeing a lot of positive conversion, and we our conversion was at least 10% more than what it was before.
Lovely.
Cool. So if you see, I'm always trying to attach the outcome at the end. What was the benefit of the project?
Yeah, you're summarizing it.
That is really important. Cool. I think we are already at a time, but if someone quickly wants to, I think we already covered waterfall several times. I want someone to talk about agile, and then we can close the call today.
I could. I can.
Okay, go ahead, Savneet.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. Let me start. So in the past, I've worked for a project that we created for Bank of America. We had a brainstorming session for a few days to determine the wish list that we needed for the project. Everyone was basically dumping their ideas, and we used sticky notes for that. In the product backlog phase, after collecting the entire wish list, we categorized them into epics and features. Once we categorized the epics and features, I worked with the entire team of stakeholders to determine the priorities, complexities, dependencies, and customer needs to deliver a minimum viable product. I would then prioritize the entire backlog into Q1 and Q2 with the consent of the stakeholders. We are able to come up with a raw plan that we wanted to release as an MVP, as a minimum viable product. So then we moved on to the sprint backlog phase, and I then worked with my project manager in reviewing the list of prioritized epics and features and breaking them down into multiple user stories. I then worked on adding more acceptance criteria, mockups, error scenarios, process flows in these stories during the pre-grooming session. After which, once the user stories are pre-groomed, I then worked with my entire Agile team to get the story points. If there are no further questions that anyone would have, we handed over the project to the development and the QA team to develop and test the user stories. And on the final stages, once the QA and the development team have finished, I quickly ran on the user acceptance testing on these stories to make sure everything looks good before I finally gave a green signal for the final launch. I made sure I coordinated with the Scrum Master on the release process. Once we launched the product, we monitored the success of the product. So this was my role working in an agile environment.
Okay, how did everyone else feel about this?
It was good.
I think it was good.
I would,
Yeah, she covered all the points.
yeah, I would probably
Yeah.
say 9 out of 10.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
That is overrated. I'm
Yeah.
No,
still
I mean it. I mean it. And there are a couple of things that you could have said
okay.
right.
I will add those points, sir.
Project
Right.
manager, you said there is, you will never work with project manager for stories. You'll work with product manager,
Oh my God. I think
right?
yes.
So you said that
Product.
wrong.
Yes,
That was
yes,
one
yes,
thing.
yes.
You said backlog 2 times. Second time you said sprint backlog. First time when you said backlog, I was guessing you were interfering. You were referring to product backlog. So you should have used product backlog jargon together, so that when you
Hey,
use,
but first time I used product backlog was after using the sticky notes phase. That's when I
yeah,
used it. Yeah. And
I think there was one point where you just said backlog. I was not clear whether it was product backlog or a sprint backlog. Again, I'm trying to be very
okay,
picky.
okay.
I'm trying
Yes,
to be
yes,
very
yes.
picky,
That's
but I think
fine. I
that
completely
was the
appreciate that.
so I think that's one place where I feel you could have used the right jargon there.
Hmm. No, no,
But I think
perfect.
otherwise everything else in this answer, if you were talking with me in an actual interview and if you would have said this, I would have bought this answer without any concerns.
Thank you. I give the credit to you, sir, because I took help from your interview,
No
the
worries.
one that you said earlier. So I took and I just formatted a little bit and made my own interview out of that,
That's fine.
like
That's
answer
fine.
out of that. So,
So are those links working for you? Well, I forgot to check. I think I've shared some
sir,
interview material with you all.
not the like जो आपने last time share करा था. The first one is not at all working. I checked and it says that it's a private video or something. I checked.
Okay. I
I
think I
was
need
not
to go
able to.
back and change the access in that level. I
Yes.
have to give you accesses to all the students. Okay, cool. I'll go ahead and do that. But cool.
Okay.
I think you guys are getting it. Today's class was much better. This is the first time in last 6 weeks I felt that this class is productive, like this specific class, interview preparation. And I think I'll probably give you few more questions for next week, and we can probably shoot on that. But again, I do not want you all to wait for week by week. This is more of a practice session. You guys should start really practicing interview at a much faster rate if you can, right? I don't want you to slow down. But if this class speed help you to achieve your personal goals, you can probably in a month from now, I think you'll at least be in a position where you can start taking recruiter calls.
Wonderful.
I just have a quick question. In the recordings, I don't see the last class recording where you have explained SQL.
It's within the let me share my screen.
Because this is, I'm looking in the self-paced video links, but I don't see that.
Just a second, let me show you. So if you go to class recordings
Yeah,
here, over here,
yeah.
did I not add SQL? No, this is the one that has SQL in it.
Oh, okay. So we,
Okay.
I thought
have not shared
there
this
were
classes.
more.
No, this class I've not shared with you all because this is a complex class to understand. I have videos for this and I'm going to share it with you, but I don't want you guys to spend any time on this because this is like 5% of your responsibility out of 100%.
Okay.
I want you to
Okay.
focus on this. Once you prepared your resume, once you have some downtime, that's when you can start looking into these things.
Okay, and I do have one question. So, in a company, is it possible for one team to have an agile, environment, and another team,
Yes,
say, working on Waterfall? Because
it is possible.
yeah, because I'm looking at the finance industry, right? So, if you're looking at the web at the portal, it can be done in an agile environment, but say for loan documentation or which requires more scrutiny, legal approval, you cannot do it in an agile environment.
Yep, it's very well possible. You're right.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right, guys.
So since we did not cover, I'm sorry to interrupt, but since we did not cover the waterfall, can we do that question for next week?
Yeah, we can do that. Or
Okay,
if you guys
perfect.
want to just record yourself on Teams and share it to me, so, I can read that. I can listen into that and I can give you my feedback. We have done waterfall several times in our classes, so I'm not too worried about that.
Okay.
But I think for next week we are going to focus on all Scrum ceremonies. So Scrum ceremonies is sprint planning, sprint grooming, sprint retrospective sessions. What are those ceremonies, right? We're going to focus on that in our next class.
Okay.
So you're going to write down the questions, right?
All
For
the
us
Scrum ceremonies. I'll write it down and I'll send it to you all as well. But all the Scrum ceremonies that you can think about. Let me see if I have a PowerPoint and I can copy and paste from there.
So what can you quickly tell us the sprint review is one of the ceremonies?
Let me find out. Sprint review, sprint demo is the ceremony, right? Sprint demo.
Yeah.
February 2021. I'm trying to find my own notes. Give me 1 minute. Digital transformation. PowerPoint. Okay. I'm just going to put this in the chat for you all so we can cover this questions, Scrum ceremonies. Elicitation techniques and Scrum ceremonies is what we're going to cover in next class.
Got it.
Let me put this in the chat here. I'm increasing the bar now. So I'm adding more topics than what I should have. Topics for next interview wrap session. You guys will see this in some time. I'm just about to type in this, but any other questions or we can close the call.
Yeah, my last request was last week's video. I mean, the
Yes,
interview
I'm going
video.
to add that. Yep.
Thank you so
that.
much. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
No problem. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
you.
Thanks so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Yep.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
weekend.
Yeah, you all do the same.
Thanks.
Thank you.
મીર ભાઈ સાહેબ તમે જો ભાઈ આપણે તો તમારા ચહેરા ભાઈ